March of the Living took us back into history in the company of 5,000 of our peers from all over the world. It encouraged us to imagine the richness of Jewish life that once existed in Eastern Europe, where our people were at the pinnacle of society.
It enabled us to bear witness to the devastation created by the Holocaust and allowed us to defiantly reassert the survival of our people.
It allowed us to celebrate the miracle and growth of the State of Israel, a country which, had she existed before the Holocaust, 6 million of our people and their descendants may still have been alive today.
A country which, to create and protect over 17,000 young Israeli men and women, many of whom were close to our own age,
have given their lives to ensure that this country remains strong and free, and that it will always be a homeland where we will be welcome.
It, within 2 short weeks, compressed decades of turbulent history and has allowed us to understand events and feel feelings previously unimaginable. Our lives have changed dramatically and forever. You are invited to share in this experience as we retrace the footsteps of the 1994 March of the Living.
Okay, everybody smile. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Where's the Montreal thing?
Montreal will be done here in a minute.
Guys, sit down here now. Stay here. That's it.
We're gonna miss the plane.
Why do you think that?
We're the only ones not going.
Maria?
Thank you. As I think this is a fitting beginning to the momentous journey that we are embarking upon. I wish us all good luck, good speed, Godspeed, and may this be a meaningful experience for all participants. Thank you, and we'll see you at Warsaw.
Il est strictement défendu de fumer dans ce vol.
The Polish International Airport in Warsaw. It's 4 a.m. Polish time. We're tired and dirty. I haven't slept on the plane at all, but it's nice to be. Look, guys.
Get back this.
Okay,
Take your passport.
take the passport, give me back the ticket, please.
Can we do it this way?
Doing the Polish translation to this. It is, S-A.
And sacrosanct with an A.
I just would like to say this once, perhaps, that when anybody is speaking, please give them your undivided attention, A. B, when you're given instructions at any site in terms of the time that you have there and the point of return, please pay attention, because we don't want to waste time in waiting for people getting lost.
And it's just really great. And you know, I really like. People told me that when we got here, everything was gonna be really gray and rainy. And I said, no. It's like you're being brainwashed, and it's not true. There's no way. But it's really gray. But it's really gray here.
In the Gensha Cemetery this morning, we are looking at a life that was. So we really have a very hard time. We can raise a lot of questions, but we really don't have answers. We can just think about what was it that was lost for the Jewish people when the center of Jewish culture was in Warsaw, and let's not forget that for a moment.
Yiddish theater, literature, right? Literacy, songs. The leaders, the people who are at the forefront, the cutting edge of all of these movements are buried here.
Coincidentally, stumbled upon a tombstone which had my mother's maiden name on it.
The little slash in the Good Vine was a swastika for a second, but I think I was just imagining things, because that's what I expect to see.
This political inspiration.
And what I'm doing here, I'm trying to find a grave that was... We're trying to find our last names. Our last names. It's a heritage here, and my family was here for generations until after the war. And my name is Turash, so we're trying to find the graves here, and there's no luck yet.
Well, the cemetery, I got mixed feelings. You know, if people died violently or they died peacefully, how they wanted to or not. But you know, it was like a really nice, like the heritage of the cemetery and everything. But it just couldn't be kept. Like it just couldn't be kept like the way we see, like in Montreal, maybe we look spoiled when we see like all the nice green grass and the flowers and everything's kept. And here it can't be. You don't have the people to do it. You don't have anything. You don't have the money, and it's just sad. I mean, but it's proud to see the heritage. But the feelings are mixed over whether you don't know how some of the deaths were violent from the war. And when you looked at some of the graves where they just had the families buried on top of each other, I looked at it in 1942, I think, and it was just a mass grave and a little headstone covered by a big one for the father.
He wanted to create what we refer to as an international language. The gentleman's name was Zamenhof, Dr. Lazaro Zamenhof. And he created a language known as Esperanto. On the left, I believe, is the remains of the synagogue. But you can see it was a massive structure.
They have the whole zodiac. Mazal Nisan, okay, right. Taleh, Mazal Iyar,
You see the Tomim. Inside the cemetery is a common grave of 802 Jews who were shot in the forest and then buried here. But you have remains in the cemetery going back to the 17th century. 3,100 in 1939, and that was 60% of the population.
After the Jews were taken away, did she know where they were going?
Czy jak Żydzi zostali zabrani stąd, czy wiadomo było, gdzie oni jadą, co się z nimi będzie działo, czy państwo wiedzieli?
Oni nie wiedzieli, bo oni...
So the Germans told the Jewish people and also the Polish people that they going to work in some places, they are going to move, but they didn't tell that they are going to camps and so on. So they didn't know that at that time.
And to see the space where the mezuzah was once held, 3 doors down from the synagogue, which still has the remains of the Ark of the Covenant, it's becoming a little more clear to me, right? To stand here and to be the center of attraction for the locals who only see, most likely, people of our religion once every 2 years during the March of the Living. This already speaks to me volumes about what might have been and what was destroyed.
The Bima was left standing more or less as a monument to the Holocaust, as a monument to the synagogue, as a monument to the Tarnów Jewish community, which was almost totally destroyed by the Nazis. The Nazis had a ghetto here. The 25,000 Jews who lived in Tarnów before the war were joined by 15,000 others, so there were 40,000 people packed into this area. The Nazis carried out executions right in that market square where we've parked our buses, and there were also executions carried out elsewhere around town in the forest nearby. Most of the Jews here were deported to the death camps.
It's not a place to be happy. It's a skeleton. It's only bones. Over 35,000 Jews lived here. There isn't any one left.
Our box breakfast is tuna with probably no mayonnaise, a little bit of Thousand Island dressing, you know, just to spice things up, and some wafers. So I decided that even though it is breakfast, it's time to break out the salami.
Today is going to be a full day. Krakow is one of the most interesting places and significant cities for Jews and for your journey of discovery here.
I am filled with anger and this belief that in 1994 we still see the Jew being portrayed as a caricature, and this is what they're selling here in the marketplace in Krakow in this day. Where we are now is called, as I said before, the Temple Synagogue or the Reformed Synagogue. It was established originally in 1862 by the Reformed community, Jewish community in Krakow. The majority of Krakow's Jews, for most of its history, were Orthodox. It is the only 19th century, that is modern style, 19th century synagogue building that still is standing intact in Poland. Where we are now, as I started to say earlier, is in the heart of the Jewish section of Krakow, Kazimierz. Kazimierz, before the war, 70,000, almost 70,000 Jews lived in this area. Today, no Jews live here. It is a Jewish ghost town, and what you are going to see today
was the Ramah, where we are now. The Ramah who created the Jewish minhag, or the Jewish custom for Ashkenaz Jewry throughout the entire Europe. So if anyone wants to know, who was it that gave the life of the European Jew meaning, direction, purpose, and law? It was the Ramah. The Ramah, the shul where he prayed. The Ramah is buried outside.
The tombstones date back to the 16th and early 17th century. You can see, but you can see how neatly they've been put up. These were all found buried. In the 30s, there was nothing here. This is the old synagogue. If you stand back a little, you can get a really good look at it. End of the 1400s, it was built, and it was remodeled many times. Typical Gothic arches, pointed arches. It looks like what many people think a medieval church looks like. It was very badly devastated in the war, very badly. And after the war, it was taken over by the town museum, historical museum of Krakow, and they have turned it into a Jewish museum.
We're standing right in front of Oskar Schindler's administrative building. We're here at the factory, and it's great how a year ago we wouldn't have even come here, and it's just so special to see this historical site.
And to me, the highlight of the day was seeing Schindler's Factory, not because it was the most meaningful thing that we saw, but because of the movie and everything. It was the first real thing I saw, and I was able to relate to it more. And really, when I saw it and I saw how real it was, it made me think how real everything else was, and it put everything in perspective of the life that once was and is no more.
We drove by Schindler's Factory. They all looked at those front gates, and there were gasps. There weren't gasps in front of the Ramah Shoal. There weren't gasps in front of Krakow Square. There were gasps here. This finally puts everything into perspective.
This is a ghetto wall.
What it says in Yiddish on top, Da gelebt, gelitten und umgekommen, here lived, suffered, and perished, durch die Hand von die hitlerischen Mörder, by the hands of the Hitler killers, murderers.
In this place, one of the most awful crimes in the history of mankind was fulfilled. The human language is not able to describe this awfulness of this crime. We will replace this awfulness with one word: Hitlerism.
השמדה באירופה על קידוש השם בעבור.
As sure as the wind in the trees, everybody, we rise again in the faces of our children. We rise again in the voices of our song. We rise again in the waves out on the ocean. And then we rise again.
We sit here today, 50 years later, in the exact place where our fellow Jews perished, wondering why. 6 million Jews.
And I carry the name of a Shlomo that came here and never came back. But I am here, and you are here, and by that we have proven the world that we are Am HaNetzach, we are the people of eternity, and we will continue living forever.
Where I live, this kind of thing is not uncommon at all. You don't understand how it feels. You don't understand what being called a dirty Jew at least 20 times a day, every day for a year feels like.
We never had a chance of knowing what life can mean. They left this world so quickly and without reason. We shall never forget that.
Was forcing the Jews to wear the yellow patch, Magen David. My mother was sent by her mother to another family, and she says, "Mother, but how can I go with this? I'm ashamed." So the mother said, "Don't be ashamed. This symbolizes that you are a Jew. You should be proud by being Jewish."
Marchers doing more than marching.
Not many people know also that Auschwitz had a third name, a Yiddish name, Oshpitzin.
because before the war, this town, Oświęcim, Auschwitz, was basically a shtetl. There were about 10,000 people living in it. Between 5,000 and 6,000 of them were Jews.
Auschwitz-Birkenau, in this camp, approximately 4 million people were killed. The data are not, well, we cannot estimate it exactly. Nobody can, because nobody counted the prisoners. They came straight from the transport, from the trains into gas chambers, and then were gassed, so nobody could count them properly. From that amount of 4 million people, 2.5 million were Jews who were killed in Auschwitz.
The April wind stirs foreign land. It scatters ashes, whispers voices of the dead. 6 million lives did perish here. Still heard the cries of children haunted by their fears. For you who died, I must live on. Just empty barracks and barbed wire left to mourn. Hold out your hands, please give me strength to find your eyes. To pray, to cry, to live, to fight. The songs you could not sing, I promise, yes, I promise I will sing.
And everybody's reaction is perfectly legitimate. There's no way of having a wrong reaction to what we're going to see. You may not feel it. You may not feel anything now. You may but just look at something as if it's a museum. And then tomorrow, the next day, when you're in Israel, when you're back home, that's when it may hit you.
I thought I was going to be really emotional and cry a lot and be sad, but I don't know, I just don't know why I'm not. But I remember feeling a little upset at Auschwitz because it was a museum. Basically, it was a museum, and I really was upset by that. But I guess it's better to have a museum for something for people to see than nothing at all.
ושם כל נר נשבע, אני חי ואזכור. For you who died, I must live on. Just empty barracks and barbed wire left to mourn. Hold out your hands, please give me strength to find your eyes. To pray, to cry, to live, to fight. The songs you could not sing, I promise, yes, I promise I will sing.
I thought I would be scared to see the fences, to see how everybody was trapped inside this hell.
I mean, you hear about it before you come, and you talk to people who have been on it, and you just don't know what to expect. And I was numb. I walked through, I saw, horrible pictures.
For you who died, I must live on. Just empty barracks and barbed wire left to mourn. Hold out your hands, please give me strength to find your eyes. To pray, to cry, to live, to fight. The songs you could not sing, I promise, yes, I promise I
don't think I'm ever going to stop seeing that human hair. For every single little bit of human hair, there's a face and a body and a person who died here.
La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
And all around their houses, people lived here and sat here and didn't do anything about
it. For you who died, I must live on. Just empty barracks and barbed wire left to mourn. Hold out your hands, please give me strength to find your eyes. To pray.
It's indescribable. I mean, you're looking at pictures and it happened right there.
The songs you could not sing,
what they went through now, I am going through in a different way, but I know I'm going to be leaving.
We will now begin the March of the Living ceremonies. We do this in the commemoration of the 6 million of our brethren who perished and whose memory we now honor with our march.
The Polish Friends of Israel. That was crazy. Like they were singing Havenu Shalom Alechem in Hebrew to us in Poland. One of the most moving things that I've ever seen in my entire life, because it was like.
Licia Altmark, 10 years old, Poland. Shlomo Ehrenfried, בן 12, פולין. משה אהרנפריד, בן 8, פולין. חיה אהרנפריד, בת 2, פולין. Anna Abramovich, 14 years old, Romania.
Emil Zuckerberg, בן 5, בלגיה. שמעון רוז'ינסקי, בן 14, פולין. Zlaté rozmarín.
Wouldn't take place 4 years before. There was no place for the Jewish people in the entire world. There was no shelter for them, no place where to escape.
This torch is lit in memory of all those who rebelled in the ghettos and killed, and who perished in defense of Jewish honor and the honor of men.
Auschwitz, Birkenau, My brother, Rablinko, Ushal Machano Pashim Madar, Ideyan Natimatsori Riviosberi Maximum, Leagnoshim Elizicheron Tamid.
I had the privilege of walking at the front on the actual march of representing Montreal and reading some names, and I was walking up there with Anna, and she was saying things like, I mean, I've heard Holocaust survivor stories before in Montreal, and they said there was this place that we were at and this happened there, but then Anna was saying, over here this happened, and right at this place this happened, and stuff like that, and it was really amazing walking with her.
Down there. 402 is down there.
402 is there.
Down there. 403 is down there. 400 is not there.
You know?
Bus 400.
Yes.
But we complain. The tuna is very bad.
We walked for 10 miles and the bus isn't even
Our
there.
bus driver drinks.
First of all, it was at the end, but no, to add to that, it wasn't right behind the second last bus. It was like 10 feet behind that second last bus. So, and it was on the wrong side of the street.
Give up on the march. We didn't have to go on a march. We had to just walk from the Birkenau to our buses.
There's a list of codes that tells you which room numbers correspond to which phone numbers, because it's too hard to make the phone numbers the same as the room numbers. This is Poland.
Last to sandpaper.
Yeah,
I've used it many times to take off the paint on my house.
It comes in toolboxes at Canadian Tire. It's evil.
I went to the bathroom for the first time in 4 days, and it was phenomenal.
We are so pleased. We are so pleased. We're very pleased about her.
Everybody was like hugging me and everything. Was like,
good night and mazel tov once again.
I don't care. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Good night.